Yeah, man. It'll be interesting to watch, man. Let's talk about just in general, just college football, Pete. What you saw this weekend. It was an awesome Saturday. I thought we were at the Lickin', which was a hell of a time watching all these games before Miami played. Got to watch a little more of them during our rain delay, more than I probably would have liked. The sad part is you couldn't see the night games because UM was playing at night. I ended up watching the next day, most of the big ones, Tennessee, Georgia, all that. What was your big takeaway, though, Pete, from this college football Saturday? Because it seemed like there was a lot of very, very interesting matchups and exciting games.
Manny Diaz still can't coach football.
Tell me about it.
I mean, it's just crazy that Miami ever gave that man the opportunity to be the head coach here. That's not to go back on something, but that's every time I watch him as the head coach, that's just what I see. I mean, look, can he coach some defense? He can. Obviously, it didn't always work great at Miami with some of the stuff that he did, but he's not head coach material. The team crumbles just like his personality does. It's obvious watching him on the sidelines with some of his mannerisms and the body language. You can't lose to the team that you just took the quarterback for $7 million for. That's just, you can't do it. It's a bad look. I'm sorry. I just, that's my main takeaway, because I continue to see Canes. I saw a lot of Canes fans over the summer, kind of trying to compare Manny to Mario, and I think it's clear as day that those two should not be in the same conversation.
Oh, I mean, they shouldn't even be in the same universe. There's really no comparison other than, I guess, Manny is,
And look, is Duke hypothetically a good situation for him? Yeah, but I still don't think it's gonna work there. He's probably gonna have a nice leash there because there's not gonna be much pressure on him. But that guy's not gonna win more than 7 games a year consistently. I'm sorry. I know he did it last year, but I'm talking about as this thing continues to the more his fingerprints get on a program, the worse it's gonna get.
No, I agree with you, Pete. He was very bad recruiting in Miami. He was probably our worst recruiter since Coker, quite frankly. In fact, I believe that's a fact. I'm going to continue. Now that we got a little more time, I'm going to finish those recruiting reviews, which I've been doing class by class. But I already know kind of the answer because I did all the math before. And Manny's recruits were by far the worst of anybody since Coker.
And it's more than recruiting, D. He just like you lose the locker room with him as the head coach. The culture's down the drain. He's not a leader of men. Like, that's just what it is.
Yeah, I can't argue with you, man. And we got friends that work there, so it's like I hate killing them like this. But the big thing I didn't understand with Duke was why, if I looked at Duke last year, Pete, the last thing I thought was, man, what they really need is an elite quarterback. I guess everybody can use an elite quarterback, and I don't think this guy we're talking about is elite. But let me say it differently. I didn't look at Duke and say what they could use is a good quarterback that costs $4 million, and that's going to put them over the top. That's not what I thought when I watched Duke last year and their personnel. So you go get Darian Menson. I don't think he's been the problem, although he just lost to the team that he got pulled from. You look at 51 attempts. Obviously, that's on the high end, 313 yards. So he wasn't that explosive throwing the ball, but 3 touchdowns, 1 INT. I don't think he looks that bad. I mean, I think he looks pretty good. Now, is he elite that's going to carry a team? No, he's not. To me, he's actually a guy that his style of play fits better on a good team because he's going to connect the dots, play action, play within the scheme. He's not someone that is like a Cam Newton, right? So I didn't understand that's the player that you paid all that money for when you had all these other needs on the team. Obviously, defensively, Manny, we know he's a good defensive coordinator when he has good defensive players, but here, absolutely abysmal performance. And then you look at, Jake Retzlaff to Tulane, which seems like a perfect fit. It's funny. I mean, they'll see it worked out really, really well for Tulane with this whole thing that happened at BYU. And this is the perfect guy for them. Look at the stats, 245 yards passing, 111 yards running. 111 yards running in this game, 4 touchdowns. So if you're Tulane, you're ecstatic how the whole trade went down. Save money, got a better player, potentially a better player, and obviously you beat Duke in this game. But, man, if you're Duke, I don't see the vision or why you spent so much money on Mensa. It just doesn't make any sense given what they needed.
I just I just and that I don't know why that was my first thought from the college football weekend, but it really infuriates me every time I think about the chance that Blake James hired him to be the head coach in the University of Miami. I mean, set the program back. Thank goodness that Mario was there, because I don't know who else would have done it, man. So yeah, that was my first thought. The second thought was, hey, I had a pretty good call on the over in Georgia, Tennessee there, 44-41. When we were talking about that game, that was a nice back and forth, man. I think I feel pretty good about Joey Aguilar if I'm a Tennessee fan coming out of that one. They should have won that game, but
let me eat some crow, because I was the first one to doubt Joey Aguilar, and I thought Tennessee did the right thing letting Nico go. So that part I agreed with, but I thought Aguilar would be a step back for them. They were one of those teams that they weren't ignoring the portal, but they were not the most portal heavy team that there was. When you really look at the numbers in terms of the team, pulling their team ranking right now, they didn't kill it in the portal, right? But they've been recruiting well. They got the number one quarterback committed for next year, so we'll see how this whole thing progresses. But they really trusted their recruits. As I pull it up right now, so Tennessee last year in the portal, you got to scroll down to get them. They're one of those load more teams where you pull up the 247 database and you got to load more to find them. 68th in the portal last year, Tennessee, recruiting well, obviously well coached. So lost a lot of guys to the pros. I saw James Pierce getting sacks yesterday on Sunday Night Football. So they lost guys, and their best corner, McCoy, is banged up. He's still hurt from the offseason. Had another corner out for this game. So you look at Tennessee, you're like, all right, well, they didn't really replace that much in the portal. What are they going to look like? And I thought they should have won this game. If their kicker made a kick, if they had Carter Davis, you could have been talking about Tennessee winning this game. Just to shout out your boy. But I thought Aguilar throwing the deep ball was pretty good. Now, some of it was, Brazil making some incredible catches, number 17.
Mm-hmm.
But he did much more than maybe I expected. So I got to eat crow on that one, because I thought this offense would take a step back from last year, where they were already kind of disappointing. But they actually look much better without Nico. And clearly they made the right decision moving on. I'm sure there's a lot of frustration that they couldn't get this particular game done, because this game was theirs to win. Georgia ends up winning again, continuing that dominance over Tennessee. I'm sorry. So we'll see where Tennessee goes from here, but I liked what I saw from them, and I like their receivers, man, look pretty explosive out there running down the field.
The next thing I'll say is Notre Dame, man. That's a good 0-2 team right there.
They're the only ranked 0-2 team since 1988. So
I'm sure. Listen, I'm sure if they didn't have that Notre Dame logo next to their helmet, it'd be the same situation.
Yeah, but they have. You're right. You're right. They lost some good teams. I'm gonna take it the other way. I was very impressed. Talking about things I was wrong about. I didn't think that Marcel Reed was as good as he was. Now, he was similar to Aguilar with a lot of feast or famine. Like, he was bombing it down the field. I think he was like 17 of 37, but when he did complete it, he was flying down the field. He had those very, very explosive. Talk about the portal. So Tennessee was a team that did not do much in the portal. Texas A&M in the portal was absolutely outstanding. And you look at what they did, particularly at the wide receiver position with Mario Craver from Mississippi State, Casey Concepcion from NC State. They've gone from a receiving group that did not have much explosiveness at all. They lost Noah Thomas to Georgia, lose some size, but didn't exactly lose explosiveness. But now you look at them, man, they are one of the most explosive downfield teams in the country because of those receivers. Their offensive line is very good. Reed can run and throw. They got Moss for short yardage. Defense, we'll see how they develop. They lost a lot of guys. Elko's a defensive coach. I think they'll get it going. But, man, Texas A&M, better than I thought offensively, and Marcel Reed better than I thought. Really good job in the portal.
And then Georgia Tech beating Clemson. I think that's maybe we should have started with that one, since it has a lot of implications for Miami. But you've been pretty strongly saying for a while that Clemson still did not have the talent that the media said they did. I think we talked about it a bit on the pregame show the other day at the Licking while we were watching the game. And you said both Florida and Clemson got this hype undeservedly. But like I said the other day, at least Clemson was coming off a another AC championship. Klubnik, even if he wasn't a first-round talent, like some people said, is an experienced quarterback who had some really good moments at the college level. So, and then Dabo has the history that he has. So I just got to give on that one, honestly, a lot of credit to Brent Key, Haynes King, Georgia Tech more than anything. They just, to me, outlasted them and outplayed them in that game.
Yeah, if you look at Clemson, the actual stats, it's interesting. Clemson actually outrushed Georgia Tech in this game, 174 rushing yards to 147, which that was the weakness of Clemson going into the year from last year. Could not stop the run, could not run the ball. I still don't think their running game is very good. I'm not impressed by their running game, but clearly they were effective in this game. Klubnik can run as well. Georgia Tech did their thing running the ball, so I don't think Clemson particularly stopped the run. But I think it was just a situation where a guy like Haynes King, he finds a way to win. We've seen it a million times. He is one of the toughest competitors we've seen in the ACC in a long, long time. And Klubnik is just, it's not clicking. Maybe it clicks later. It did last year. Remember last year he started slow, finished extremely strong, played a great game in the playoffs against Texas. But I don't really see it with him. I love the comparison. We'll talk about with Amon tomorrow when we bring Amon Richards onto our show. I love the comparison between Amon and Wesco. I think that was your comparison. They very similar, but to the Storm's point, they get no push on the offensive line. Remember, we talked about it before. Power. Even the best players on Clemson, TJ Parker, Peter Woods, I wouldn't consider them power players. They're more slipping, get in the backfield, doing those things.
So, any other thoughts from you? UCLA, Virginia Tech firing their coaches, Brent Pry, he's gone. That was as bad of a loss as you're going to get there.
Yeah, they had to make a move. Both those programs are going nowhere fast. If I'm UCLA, I'm getting the most innovative offensive guy and just kind of going in that lane, right? Just who's the Lance Leopold kind of guy that's just doing it differently at a lower level. And then Virginia Tech, they need a guy that can get that defense right because they're just not a physical team. They're an underachieving team where they used to be an overachieving team. So to me, I don't think it's about necessarily recruiting. That program's never been built on like top 10 classes. It's more about getting guys to buy into a system. Mike Elko, who was at Duke before Texas A&M, he was like they need a guy like that. I think to just get the defense right, get the culture right, get guys tougher, just change the mentality more so than like a guy that you're saying, okay, this guy's going to lock down Virginia and all the talent in that Tidewater area. Yeah, you want to do that too. I think it's more important that you get this team playing with an identity, tackling, running to the football, doing those things, and not playing with just the weird energy that they've played with the last, it feels like 15 years. It's been a long funk for Virginia Tech where they've just not been consistent at all. They've had some good players. Last year, they had a lot of good players. Tootin was a really good player. Chaplin, the left tackle, is now at Auburn. He's one of the best in the country. They had two pass rushers inside and outside with Peebles and Antoine Powell-Ryland. They had good players. The lane, they had corners that could play. They had receivers that went pro. They just, their center's now the center for LSU. They just really couldn't put it together, and it's sad to see. I mean, it's glad we don't have to worry about Virginia Tech like we used to always have to worry about them, although they almost beat us last year, even with the down team. But man, it's unrecognizable for those of us who remember what they used to look like.
Kevin asking any chance we go after Johnny Jones since UCLA coach is fired. Brett Kaloje to me is still the one they want at O-line.
Yeah, and there's some good O-line film. I actually want to kind of watch some of it in a second here. But first, real quick, I want to talk about my friends at OrchidMan Florida. That is OrchidMan Florida, but it's not just orchids. These are landscape artisans. One-stop shop. You got property, commercial, residential. You want it to look nice. This is South Florida. You got to have nice landscaping. The rain is there. You got to have good landscaping. Take advantage. These are South Florida's landscape artisans working from Palm Beach, Broward, all the way down to the Keys. You see the number 786-271-0332. OrchidMan Florida. They'll do the pretty work and they'll do the dirty work. Sprinkler repair, manicure maintenance, tree trimming, I always stumble on this word. Tree stump grinding. Got to work on that one. That was like a tongue twister every time. Tree removal, hurricane prep, you name it. They got it at OrchidManFlorida.com. So you had a comment here. Yeah, Bagano said that was Orkin like pest control. No, OrchidMan Florida. Got to work on my pronunciation. Gene Williams said, I live in SoCal. And there's so much football talent. Chip Kelly was a terrible hire since he's not a good recruiter. They need a recruiter and a program builder. I thought that Deshaun Foster was supposed to be the recruiter.
I don't know, man. Reading a lot of stuff, it doesn't seem like that was ever really a job he should have been put in position for. But I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people are saying that they're in a tough financial spot, which makes that a tough position. Big Ten, there's enough recruiting around there. You play in the Rose Bowl. That's a cool recruiting pitch.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, UCLA's put players in the pros. They should be recruiting better than some of these teams that are bumbling and stumbling.
Sworn to the storm says UCLA's administration never cared about football. Hey, all it takes is a couple good souls like Rudy Fernandez and Joe Echeverria to change that to change the fortunes, right?
Yeah, man. How lucky were we that thing got resolved? How about, and by the way, how lucky are we to live in Miami, where when there's a storm like you encountered this week, you could just roll over to Duffy's Tavern, where the elite meet to eat right there. That's a table where we were doing our podcast on Friday. Duffy's Tavern, the home of the Hurricanes, right there on the edge of Coral Gables. Place has been around since, I don't even remember, way before Miami was good at football. And throughout Miami's whole run, you had players going to Duffy's Tavern. You had fans going to Duffy's Tavern after the OB, after seeing a game at the Light. This is an institution. It is the home of the Miami Hurricanes. You go into Duffy's, it's like going into Cheers. Everybody knows your name. You see high school reunions, guys that went to high school 50 years ago with all their old buddies, fantasy football drafts, families, you name it. It's at Duffy's Tavern. Same great menu as always, but upgraded, spruced up, and they take credit card now. They finally take credit cards at Duffy's Tavern, not the chain sterile Duffy's. This is Duffy's Tavern. Make sure you put that tavern in there and you go to the top place for just that family bar vibe where you can drink, but you're also can bring your kids and eat great food and watch, of course, football all day, any day the football's on, or soccer, which I know you watch out there, baseball. They got it at Duffy's Tavern. Your home away from home and the home of the Miami Hurricanes.
You know what? Maybe I take back what I said. Phil makes a good point. Frank is the chancellor at UCLA. I don't know. They may not have much of a chance.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And they're cooked. Maybe Manny will apply for the Frank didn't hire Manny, right? Frank was after Manny. Look, to be fair, we hired Mario under Frank, so he stayed away enough. Pete, I wanted to watch some highlights here. I like to keep track of some of I like to keep track of some of these highlights. So just before we get out of here with the Hurricane Team Store, but I want to show us some highlights of our guy Jackson Canwell, man, because I keep thinking like, man, it's gonna be sad to lose Francis. He's such a great player, which of course he is. But man, it's gonna be nice to replace him with a guy like Jackson Canwell. We talk about power, man. This guy, look at the hands. Look how he just throws guys. I mean, he blocked 3 guys on that play. It's very technical. You can tell he's working on his details. I was talking to offensive line coach on Sunday, and he was telling me that you could tell this guy's very detail oriented, very patient. He's trying to do the right things, even though he's going against basically little kids compared to him. But just look at his hands. I've never seen a guy push guys as far as he does. Look, I mean, he just pushes them and they fly. It's not even like, his body is really just his hands, which of course there's a push right there. You don't want to jump with this guy anywhere in the vicinity. But with his ability to be potentially the best shot putter at the high school level ever in America, you see that on the field with the strength in his hands. It's he's ready to play some real competition. I think no one's going to replace a Francis Malinois, but this is the closest thing you're going to get to Francis Malinois from a power standpoint at the same age. Look at that.
Yeah. So one of the storms is CC's costing himself money with the false starts. I would like to see him clean some of that stuff up.
Yeah. No, he should. He's got to.
Since we're always openly tampering here, Ron the man, or Ron the Mon says Jordan Seaton doesn't seem too happy with his situation. Wouldn't mind him as a Francis replacement.
Wait, hold on. Go ahead, talk. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that would be lovely, but go ahead.
No, I was going to ask because I'd always kind of circled it because you've said in the work, we've talked about it, that I could see the Hurricanes getting whoever the best offensive lineman in the portal is. Not because we have a huge need, just because you always got to add impact players, right? This is an impact offensive line program. If there's a guy out there that's like a plug and play NFL.
And we're
draft
getting that
pick.
question here. So CP, we're answering the question here.
And you said this. I mean, you reported this on the work. Was it a couple weeks ago, maybe before that. I've talked about it. Yeah, I've talked about it a bunch. I think that's just how they get down. There's an impact player out there to get someone just to fill a spot. But I think if you're talking about an NFL player in the portal, they're going to go after him hard. By the way, as we shout out the Miami Hurricane team store, these guys are going to be loving the offensive line. Let's talk about this real quick before we answer the question. Miami Hurricane team store, there you see it. Great signing event on Sunday. You see Mark Fletcher. You see Gerard Pringle signing for the fans. I see Johnny Lagoon in the bottom right there. His son's about to be born, and he's out there getting autographs at the Miami Hurricane team store. Shout out to Johnny Lagoon. And there's my girl Linda Fletcher there with Mark. Just a great event. Harry Rothwell, a legend, at the Miami Hurricane team store. Don't miss these signings. They are great. This was on Sunday. There'll be more to come, and then you can always shop online or in the store. Promo code INSIGHT20 get you 20% off at the Miami Hurricane team store, MiamiHTS.com. Finish it up on Seton, though, before we get out of here. Almost 1,600 on. Like and subscribe. He would fit that category, right? As that elite offensive lineman. He went to IMG. I think he's originally from DC, so he has no Colorado ties. That thing looks like it's off kilter. But the person who made that comment, did he make a tweet or something? Is there anything going on with Seton that I don't know about?
No, there was just a video of him on the sideline kind of looking mad, with the game the other day. But remember, he was at Miami this offseason with Francis too. They're friends. He was training down here. They're doing some sort of, I don't know if it was an NIL or some sort of photo shoot or what it was in the Miami facility. So he's been around Miami, and I don't remember how involved Miami was there, in terms of like the early part of the process, but
we tried.
Being a top recruit, I'm sure that Mario and Mirabal had some contact with him.
Okay, so Sworn Storm, yeah, there's the video.
Yeah, there was a video of him. It was kind of, I don't know. I watched a video and it wasn't anything too crazy. It just looked like a guy who wasn't too happy his team had lost. But I mean, if the season doesn't trend well for Colorado, and I think that it's obvious a little of their juice is gone without Travis Hunter and Shador there, like, why not come get developed by the best?
I mean, listen, I'm the Tampa-in-Chief along with you. Gene was talking about the Cal quarterback. Yeah, that would definitely be one. I've had my eyes around on this guy for a while just because I thought Sanders was going to leave this past year potentially, which would free him up. This would be even better because we probably need him more next year than this year. So he'd be that kind of guy. And if he jumped in the portal and you're objective, you're not a Miami fan, and you're looking at it, I mean, aren't you putting two and two together? And like, if you're like just a general college football observer and you see Seton go in the portal without knowing more, aren't you going to assume Miami? Meaning,
I would think Oregon too. Oregon would probably be in the mix there.
Yeah, with Isaiah World.
Where's he from originally?
DC.
DC. Yeah, I could see it.
Oregon's one. I could see that for sure. I mean, like all top programs are gonna be after a guy like this. But
I would imagine like randomly, like a North Carolina will throw a lot of money at him.
Right.
But North Carolina will randomly land a couple kids in the big time players in the portal this year if Bill sticks around.
They will, but I mean,
this
is a guy that's going to be top of the scale, right? And he's going to be like a Caleb Banks kind of guy. So Caleb Banks went to Ohio State and it was pretty clean. We'll see where we're at the end of the season, but.
Caleb Banks, no.
Caleb Downs. I'm sorry. Yeah, Caleb Banks, no, is not that. So,
Ralph, last thing here before we wrap up. Ralph says what we need more than anything are big defensive tackles. I don't know that we're going to be recruiting those types, man. Not the way that they want to play. I just think you need more depth at D-line. I think you really do. The rotations at D-line, as someone pointed out earlier, weren't very high. Just because you're kind of short on bodies there right now, D. It was good to see Blunt playing, good to see him get in the mix, but it's going to be something to watch.
Yeah, I think everybody's in that situation. We're in it. You know what I was thinking, and this is not based on any information. I got to drop a bank here coming up this week. This is not based on any information, but, Ahmad Moten is a redshirt junior. Are we like too quick to assume he's going to leave?
I haven't assumed he was going to leave at all.
If he comes back, you got him and Moten.
I didn't realize he was a redshirt junior.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either. If he comes back, you got him and Scott.
Yeah, 4-year junior.
Yeah, so him and
I mean,
Scott would be.
if he keeps it up, he'll get drafted this year, but it would be a later round pick.
So he might be like, hey, I come back, I get a good NIL deal, and I still go pro later. That's not impossible. And that would you would have 2 starting caliber defensive tackles. Again, injuries, who knows what's going to happen. We still got to add more, but that I think would make things a little easier.
Yeah.
So anyways, man, well, listen, appreciate everybody joining us on the show. 1600 live on the show. Remember to like and subscribe. Pete, anything to say here before we get out of here?
No, just stay tuned this week, man. We have Amon tomorrow, right?
Yep.
Amon tomorrow. We have Mike Ryan Wednesday, Thursday Steve Kim, and then Friday we'll be at Duffy's. I'm gonna do a show at Lomello's also this week. A lot of people requesting the gator, man. I'm trying to get him to get the gator bites on the menu over there at Lomello's this week because a lot of people want it for the tailgates, man. So I will keep you guys in the loop on that.
Let's go. Appreciate everybody joining us. 1600 plus, man. Like and subscribe. Go Canes.
Go Canes.